Hello, this is Watch All About with another watch review, and in this review we are looking at the Victorinox I.N.O.X or I.N.O.X Mechanical Blue. Now the I.N.O.X range have been going for a little while, however it was only last year at Baselworld 2018 that they actually released a mechanical version. So here we have it, this is obviously the blue version. Let's start the unboxing process. So we have this outer box, and within it here we find our box with the actual watch itself, and we have a little sleeve here for a few bits and bobs. So here's the spare links that I've removed. Got a little mechanical guide, quick guide, I'll go based on mechanical movement. And finally we have the warranty, and at the back here is a warranty card and just some general information about the watch. Okay, so let's move these out of the way. Here we have the watch itself, the watch box itself. So we have the Victorinox logo embossed on the top. Open it up, bit of padding there with some detailing, and of course the watch in question. Right, let's have a look at it. So we have a little tag here as well. That's usually attached to the watch, but I've obviously removed it. So let's just shove that out of the way. Okie dokie. So it comes with this pretty cool bumper, as you can see. So you can either use this for transport, or use it whilst you're wearing the watch if you're doing something that you want to protect the bezel against. It's quite difficult to get on and off. However, you can see there it's pretty tough plastic. If I show you the texture to it, it's pretty hard and it hugs the watch really nicely. So that's a pretty cool addition that you get. So to take it off, literally just, you see it wraps around the bottom. Take it off, it's a little bit tough, I'll be honest, but you just have to, there we go, pull one side off, and there we go. Right, so here we have the watch itself. So this watch, Victorinox claim, is the mechanical watch of a lifetime. So what they've done is they've made it as tough as possible. I mean, I can vouch for it. It is very, very tough, and they've done a few things which is very cool, which increases the toughness of the watch. So we will discuss them a little bit in further detail. So first of all, let's think about the specs. Let me just pop it on. So size, we have 43mm diameter, a 13.5mm height, and then a lug-to-lug length of 53mm. So whilst the sizes don't initially sound big, it does actually wear reasonably large. It really does feel like a hefty, chunky timepiece, especially when you think about the weight, 201 grams. When you're wearing it, it really does feel very, very solid and chunky on the wrist. The shape of the case as well adds to this, because it is basically a pretty much straight up slab case. So it does wear 43mm, no doubt about it, no question about it. And then we have these gigantic crown guards as well. So certainly I would probably say you need at least a 7-inch wrist to be able to wear this watch comfortably. My wrist size is slightly over 7.5 inches, and I've got quite a flat top of my wrist as well. So I think I can get away with it. However, if you have a very small wrist, then it would be very difficult to be able to get away with it, I think. 20 atmospheres or 200 meters is the water resistance, so it is a proper decent dive watch. No, if you're like me and you just do just normal amount of swimming, then you certainly will be covered in that regard. The lug width is 21mm, and that reduces down to 20mm at the buckle. So that's a little bit of a weird width. You'll have to look a little bit harder to find straps at 21mm. Usually it's 20 or 22 or 24, so that's a little bit unfortunate. However, it's not the end of the world. In my eyes, I don't think I'll ever need to replace the bracelet because it is that nice. 3-year warranty, which is great. Longer than average, so that's a nice plus. And then finally, the movement is an ETA 2824-2. As you can see here, we have a little bit of customization to the rotor, just with the Victorinox flag, which is a nice little touch. Nothing too fancy. However, it's still nice to see that little measure of detail. I think it's basically just printed on or stuck on. I think it's most likely printed. I've measured the accuracy of this watch, and it's coming in at a very impressive plus 5.9 seconds a day. So obviously, yeah, that's within COSC specs, and that is really, really good. So that is a great positive. Right, let's discuss the watch in further detail then. So starting off with the dial. First of all, the very nice guilloche finish to it. It's meant to imitate a Swiss officer's knife handle. And when we get the macro lens on a little bit, you'll be able to see, you know, each and every nodule is very, very neatly constructed. It provides a really nice texture. It's quite subtle, but very eye-catching. You can see, you know, each nodule, when it hits the light nicely, it provides great depth to the dial. Very nice touch. It's not something you see regularly, so I really like that. And then in addition to that, we've got a couple of other things which work really well for the depth of the dial. That's this really deep rehaut surrounding the outside, and also the deep applied hour markers. So the rehaut, I really like the way that the hour markers cut into the rehaut. You can see a nice example at the logo at 12 there, where that shape is cut out at the top of the badge, and then these trapezoid hour markers also get cut out into the rehaut. Nice bit of detailing on the rehaut as well. It's not just a plain standard rehaut, but it's multi-layered with some little, as you can see there, embossed minute markers, and then we have this track printed along the top. So simple, but you know, when you pay close attention to it, there is a lot of thought that's gone behind it, which I really like. And then finally, the hour markers, you know, I mentioned them before, so they have a polished surround to them. You can see when you hit the light, they reflect nicely. And I really like the badge used at 12 rather than like a double hour markers. You know, that's quite standard really. So it's nice to see something a little bit different. Just give the crystal a quick wipe. And then these hands are quite a fat, chunky Dauphine shape really, and they're pitched as well. If I look a little bit closer, you can see the pitching reflects the light in different ways depending on the angle, which is nice. And then we obviously have the loom as well. So talking about the loom, all of these items are loomed. The loom is actually, you know, reasonably average, as you would expect for the money that you're paying. I completely forgot to mention the money actually, £689 or $795. And if I'll show you a loom shot, but just in daylight you can see the loom poking through there. Let me show you a loom shot now. So you can see there that it does show nicely, and the style of the dial means that everything's very bold, easy to read and legible as well. Finally, the date wheel and the date window. I would have liked to have seen maybe an applied border around it. It's nice that there is a very slight beveling around the outside, so that does show a little bit of detail there. However, you know, I like to see a polished border applied around it maybe. However, you know, we can't have everything. Okay, so moving on to the case. So the case itself is a bit plain really, I'll be honest. Look at it from the side, nothing too exciting on the case main. It doesn't turn down too much either, so it is reasonably flat, especially considering the lug-to-lug length is 53mm. That is something you need to be aware of. On the other side, the crown guards are gigantic. And that does mean the crown is a little bit difficult to use because you only have access to this very little section at the top here, and then on the bottom a little bit more. But the crown grip is really good. So as you can see, I've got to grip it quite tight to be able to rotate it, and even then I can't rotate it too much. But once it's loose, it's easy enough to use. But again, just one of those things that is worth noting and worth mentioning. Pushing it in, really decent thick grip, thread on the crown, however, nice and easy to use. And as I said, the grip itself is really nice and thick as well. So the bezel is actually has an anti-scratch coating applied to it, and they've done this by just applying a clear DLC coating to it. You know, quite a simple and effective measure, really. And it's a surprise that more brands don't do this. And to be fair, you know, I've been wearing this quite a lot. Usually I'd start seeing little minor scratches. However, I haven't seen any yet. So in that instance, yes, it is working well. However, because it's scratch resistant doesn't mean that it's dent resistant. Unfortunately for me, I have got a tiny little ding around the 1 o'clock mark. You can sort of see it just there. So, you can't make steel dent resistant unless it's extra hardened steel, which in this case it isn't. It's just got a coating to stop scratches. So, fair play to them for at least applying that scratch resistant coating, and in my eyes it is actually working well. Moving on to think about the crown a little bit more. We have the Victorinox logo embossed on the end, nice and deep. You can see there, it looks good. Moving on to the case back. So we have details around the outside. Now, really interestingly, we have these two QR codes, and I thought to myself, what do they do? So I got my QR scanner and I scanned them in, and interestingly, both of them return the serial number, literally just the number of the serial number. And I assume that it's something to do with authenticity. So I haven't actually seen this on a more affordable watch, watches under £1,000, for instance. Usually it's the kind of thing that you see on maybe an Omega. So I've been, it's quite nice and impressive that Victorinox have gone into the effort of this to verify the authenticity of each timepiece, because obviously each case back will have to have these custom printed and the serial number marked up as well. That's things, it does take time. In turn, it costs money as well, so it's nice to see the amount of effort they've put there. These detailing around the outside is very lightly engraved. Perhaps they could be nicer, deeper engraved. Moving on to the bracelets then. So the bracelet is actually using, they just describe it as patented stainless steel. Now, what's patented about it, I don't know. However, they do describe it as being exceptionally resistant. So again, I can vouch for that, because usually by now you're getting loads of scratches, because I've been wearing it for a couple of months, pretty, quite a lot. Scratches, I've got a couple of marks here at the bottom, and that is the usual place where you usually get it, where the buckle rubs on it. So you can see, if I go a little bit closer, you can see that's exactly where this top tab sort of knocks and rubs against it. However, the bracelet in general, it helps that it is fully brushed. But, it does seem to be, as they say, exceptionally resistant, which is a great thing. And I don't believe the buckle is the same, however, because as you can see, we are getting a little bit of wear and tear on there. However, that's not a big issue to me. That's something that just comes with having a bracelet. And the Victorinox logo is engraved on the top flap there. So the links, as you can see, very thick. It is certainly a chunky bracelet, and if you like that kind of thing, then this is a great watch for you. Some people don't, however. I'm one who does like a big fat chunky bracelet, so it works really nicely on me. I like how wide it is all the way down. It only tapers in 1 mil rather than the more traditional 2 mil, 21 mil down to 20 mil. So it looks pretty nice and thick and chunky and well made on the wrist. I like the H-style links as well, with the interlinking links. I think style-wise it works really well. But as you can see, they're just really, really thick, and it's just very smooth as well, very easy to wear as well. That's mainly thanks to the H-link style, with these interlinks, which are thinner, so it just gives you greater flexibility. It just works really nicely and is very comfortable. A couple of interesting things about the bracelet is that we have, whilst the bracelet is primarily brushed, we have these little polished insets here. Clever idea, because polished elements of a watch always get scratched. However, these won't, because they're sort of out of contact with everything else. However, they still do provide that little bit of reflective material on the bracelet, which makes it look a little bit more interesting, a little bit more luxurious as well. So a nice little touch there, very clever usage of the shape of the link. And then another interesting point is the fact that the top of the lug is actually flat. The end link, doesn't mold to the case, but instead we've got this sort of blanking block here, which is part of the case. Now that does mean you can put other bracelets in place with a flat top. Usually if you put a flat top bracelet on a watch, I think it looks stupid. However, in this case, it's not going to be an issue. Not that you will need to replace the bracelet, because honestly, why would you? This is a brilliant bracelet, which is excellently engineered and very smooth, very comfortable, and very chunky as well. It'll be quite handy with a leather strap though. Also having this blanking block, it'll make things look pretty neat and tidy. Okay, right, let's get the macro lens on and have a look at it in closer detail. So let's start with the dial. So here we have our Victorinox logo at 12, nice and deep, nicely made. You can see sort of that detailing in the rehout as well, where it's inset into it. Moving on to another hour marker, here's our 11-hour marker. You can see these are on ever so slightly raised plaques as well on top of the gouache finishing, which is nice. Nice little touch of detail that you don't notice normally. Obviously the logo, that has a little flat raised section as well for the print work, so does automatic. So that keeps it nice and neat and tidy, and you can see the print work there is excellent. And just looking at this gouache dial, you can see the, it's pretty much flawless really. You can see the detailing on each raised nodule, very nicely done. And then here's our date window with our sort of beveled edging. Would have been nicer to have seen an applied border, however what they've done here is perfectly reasonable. And hand, so there's a red tip of our second hand with an interesting counterbalance there. Moving on to the main hand, you can see the pitched central section there, fat and a chunky Dauphine shape, and again really well manufactured. Looking at the rehout, if I can get a decent shot of it, see our raised little bumps for our minute markers, and then our print work on the top, and our 3 different levels to it as well, so nice amount of detailing on that. Moving on to the case itself then, starting off with the bezel, you can see our brushed top of the bezel. So I think the case in itself is boring, however the bezel I really like. I like these polished edges to them. You can see here nice sharp lines to it as well. Moving on to the case itself, here we have the side bit. Again, pretty standard stuff really. Moving on to the other side, we have our crown. So there's our Victorinox logo embossed on the end. And nice thick chunky grip, and our gigantic crown guards, which will no doubt do an excellent job of protecting it. Flipping it over, let's look at the case back. So here we have our movement, and you can see there the print job of the Victorinox logo on the rotor. The ETA 2824-2, what an excellent movement. Can we see the little symbols down there? See a little bit of detailing, which is pretty nice. There's 2824-2. If you're going to go for a sturdy movement, then you're looking at, 2824 is the best option for you really. And there we have it. Moving on to the case back itself, so these details very lightly engraved. You can see our cheeky QR code printed on there nicely, and then our serial number. So again, very impressed with the amount of effort they're going into to prove the authenticity of each timepiece. Really like that. Great job by Victorinox there implementing that. Moving on to the bracelet then, here we have our blanking end section of the lugs, and then our flat end link of the bracelet, and here we have our interlinking sections and our H-links, and our very slightly polished tips which downturn, which is a nice little touch, and it keeps things interesting. Finally, moving on to the buckle, nothing too exciting about the buckle. It's standard double locking buckle. We have the Victorinox logo engraved on the end flap there, pretty neatly done and nice and deep as well. Right, so there we have it. The price then, £689, $795. Yes, it is, reasonably expensive for a watch. However, Swiss made automatic, that doesn't come cheap to begin with. And also, I am impressed with the amount of effort they have gone into creating, as they say, a mechanical watch of a lifetime. They claim, that the I.N.O.X range are extremely durable, hard wearing, and judging, I've only had it for a couple of months, but judging from what I have experienced, they are just that. They're really, really hardy watches. Obviously, the anti-scratch coating on the bezel, what a great plus. Yes, I've got a little dent on it, but that would happen anyway. And the painted stainless steel of the bracelet, which is exceptionally resistant, supposedly. Again, you know, as far as I can tell, yes, it is. I also forgot to mention that the Sapphire Crystal has a triple coated anti-reflective coating on the underside. It is very nice and clear as well, so it really does look decent on the wrist when you take a glance. Obviously, if you reflect it directly into a window, in that case, or a light, you are going to get reflections. That's never going to stop, you know, no matter how good your anti-reflective coating is. However, in this instance, you know, it does a really good job. And I always think that a decent anti-reflective coating does make quite a lot of difference as well to how a watch appears. And in this case, you know, that it is that case. So, yeah, they've just done a lot of really good things on this watch. There's a lot of pluses for it that other watches don't do for the same amount of price, for the same amount of money. So I think in that instance, they've created something which is unique in looks. First of all, I mean the bezel itself, you know, is the star of the case, and then the guilloche texture to the dial, again, a really nice plus as well. They've made something which is exceptionally well made, a little bit different, and you know, 3-year warranty as well. ETA 2824-2 movement, can't complain at all, and reasonably priced as well at £689, $795. So I've really enjoyed it. This was, so if you were to get it, then you'd certainly be impressed with the build quality, as long as the looks are for you, because at the end of the day, you know, it is reasonably large. You know, what are the only things that I mentioned really is just the, this is personal preference as well, you know, nice little border around the date window perhaps, and then just other little bits and bobs where the crown is a little bit difficult to use, but in my eyes, that's not things that should stop you from buying it. So a very nice watch. This is the Victorinox I.N.O.X or I.N.O.X Mechanical Blue, and that's what it's all about. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment your thoughts. So I'll see you next time.